Hi, I'm Jami.
And I'm Hugo.
Welcome to No Particular Place to Go, where two middle-aged guys on opposite sides of the Atlantic talk rubbish about cars, car culture, ownership, track days, modifications, and pretty much anything else related to cars. We're not professionals, as you'll shortly hear, but a big part of our lives revolve around all things with four wheels. Thanks for joining us. Episode 12. Welcome back. We lied to everyone because I think we said we were going to record more often, and it's been like a 2-month break. So life gets in the way. You know, we are making millions per episode, so I don't know why we don't keep recording. But you know, I think at this point we might be making tens of cents. Actually, no. I think we're negative. We're negative on every episode. So we don't have any particular place to go except into the red. So that's all right. We don't care.
It's like we're living high on the tack, right? Just in the red zone.
Oh yes, yeah. It better be a Miata and not a Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
Something
what was
that's
that
reliable.
movie where the guy's like, he's like, I'm like a race car and I'm in the red and I'm not saying anything. But was that like Reservoir Dogs or something?
Oh my god, that rings a bell, but I don't know who it was. What a terrible analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also the bit in Days of Thunder where he's like, there's like a whole bit about how he's like looking at the rev counter, and then he like, I don't know, Rusty Wheeler is like coming up his inside, and he like shifts again, and he blows up his engine, and it's like, really?
These car analogies are so tortured, and is there a good car analogy out there? These car analogies are terrible. Are there any good car analogies out there that aren't cheesy as hell?
Oh, that's a good one.
I mean, especially with like the human body. Yes, the heart is like the engine, and
yes,
your blood is like oil, but these are so bad. They're terrible.
So, I mean, this is going to sound really sad, but I did have a semi-car analogy the other week at work, because this is going to get very boring very quickly, so I apologize for this, but like some of what I do professionally, spoiler alert, not only this podcast, but is like effective, like is this idea of like embedded software. So that like, I don't know, someone has a software platform like Workday, for instance, and they want to enable their customers on their platform to do other stuff that they haven't built natively themselves. And so they can get some sort of third-party software vendor, like for example the one that I work for, and then they can kind of just inject that functionality into their platform and make it look and feel native, even though actually under the hood it's not. See, under the hood already. And I've said things like, well, it's a bit like, I don't know, you buy a BMW, say, and actually the gearbox is from ZF. Like technically that's a third party, that's a completely different company. And in fact, like arguably a lot of like the OEMs are kind of systems aggregators, right? Like they're buying like what percentage of the parts of a BMW are sourced from third-party suppliers, whether it's like Bosch for the electronics or somebody like Brembo makes the brakes or whatever it is, right? And so like arguably all of that is kind of like that embedded software that like, you know, Workday is like a BMW and like my company would be like ZF gearboxes.
That's actually not bad. That's not bad.
That works. Do you think that works as an analogy?
It does. I mean, well, provided the person you're talking to understands that, like, oh, BMW doesn't make those calipers and they don't build the transmission from scratch. It's funny because you think about it, you're like, obviously not. Like, what company would do all that? But I think to people who aren't car dorks, they might go,
they wouldn't get it.
Aren't those BMW brakes? Like, no, there's suppliers. And I did use
BMW
one
on them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it has a BMW sticker. I could put a Ferrari logo on my arm. That doesn't make me a Ferrari. I'm more like a, I don't know, Wheezy 2CV than a Ferrari. At this point, might be rusting through.
Yeah.
In desperate need of an oil change.
At this point, I'm probably more like a Range Rover that's blown its turbos. But with that analogy, you're exactly right, because I was quite proud of that. And then I'm pretty sure the person I was speaking to was just like, like they sort of had no clue.
Like,
so
Hugo, I have a Citroen. You mean Citroen didn't make everything? You're like, no, they didn't. I used a car analogy once. at work, but it was way less complex than that. I just said, what we have right now is the Flintstones car. And I'm not asking for a Rolls Royce. I just want like a rusty Camry with bald tires. Can I at least get that? And everyone got that. And ultimately I was still denied and said, no, you'll keep working with your Flintstones car because we can't be bothered. But fine, whatever.
Although, I mean, I think that's good. And the Flintstones car arguably is powered by magic, is it not? Could you make that argument?
Magic? Yeah, I mean, supposedly their feet are pushing it, but it doesn't make sense. The wheels are these massive boulders that probably weigh 1,000 pounds each. They're not moving that thing.
Magic. Like, I think of, like, I don't know whether they have them over there as well. Like, you know, when the kids are little and in like the playground, they have like, what is it called? Like the cozy coupe or whatever, like the kind of like yellow and red car.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's kind of like Flintstones car.
It is.
Because it's powered. Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Adjacent.
Those toys suck though, because you get like a little bit of speed going, and then what ends up happening is the back part of the floor like rolls over your foot and it's like digging into your Achilles. And you're like, this is painful. Why am I in this thing? This sucks.
Unless that's intentional to like constrain your speed. It's kind of like a, built-in cruise control for toddlers.
I think cruise control for toddlers is mom or dad pushing them around. Go faster, you lazy bastard.
I always wanted one of those, and I was never allowed them. Like, I always wanted one of the little pedal, like, kind of go-kart type things.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, you know, you're kind of, your butt is on the ground and you're just kind of cruising around. And it was always like, but I guess we didn't have a big enough driveway. And then on the street, it seemed like that was quite a dangerous idea because like you're below the height of a bumper.
I wanted an electric one because maybe because I was lazy. I don't know. But I thought they like, I saw kids with them. I was like, that's freaking cool, man. They have, I of course, as with everything, I think they have some very high end ones now. And I think I've even seen ones that are intended for, I have seen ones that are intended for adults and they're like quarter scale. So you sit in them, like they look almost the exact same, but of course they're tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're doing a licensed replica Ferrari 250 and you're like, oh, it's 30 grand. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen those where it's like, I think maybe even like Top Gear magazine, they had some like kind of, it was like I want to say a Bentley blower kind of replica thing. And it was like half scale or something like that. And it was still some, you know, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds. And you just think like there's some rich people in need of toys out there.
Clearly.
Because I guess they can't just play with their money.
There's not enough toys. Wait, now, you famously, at least to me and you famously are a member of Goodwood, are you not?
I tried to become one.
Oh.
And I sent off all the things, and I don't know whether it actually ever happened. I got some very aggressive emails at some point from them, and then a very apologetic email saying that like this person that's been spamming you aggressively is no longer with Goodwood, and like the whole thing was weird. But I only wanted the sticker to put in my, I don't even know what car it would have been at that point.
That is a weird story. So one, can you buy the sticker off Etsy or eBay, I wonder? But two, so they were aggressively, what did they want? This person who was let go? Do they just want you to renew or pay up or?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was definitely, there was a financial component to it. Because that's one of those things as well, where as I remember, it's kind of like, I don't know, you pay whatever it is to be a member, which basically gets you like a sticker and then allows you to then pay more to do other things. You know?
Oh, I see.
Kind of like how buying one Ferrari then enables you to buy more Ferraris, that then eventually when you bought enough Ferraris, then you're allowed to have a new one.
Yeah. The Goodwood membership feels a bit pyramid schemey.
Yeah.
Do they ask you to recruit other members after you join?
Probably. Yeah. In your local area, going door to door, selling Goodwood subscriptions. But it comes with a sticker.
And if you recruit enough people to buy stickers, you can make tens of dollars per month.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I suppose because I don't think have you ever made it to the Festival of Speed?
No, sadly, I have not. We were all booked one year and we didn't end up making it.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's been a few years since I went, and honestly, I didn't enjoy it as much the last time because I guess it's just got so massive and got quite sort of commercial and stuff. Like the Festival of the Unexceptional that we went to last summer was so much more fun because you were actually like sort of up close, and also it wasn't just like, oh, here's another £1 million car. It's like, okay, cool. It's like going to an art gallery or something. It's like, sure, but none of this is ever going to live on my wall. Whereas, like, in theory, I could have it. I could go out and buy a Citroen Zara Picasso if I really wanted to. I mean, I don't, but I could.
It was way more relatable. I think if we had grown up very wealthy and moneyed, like maybe we'd be more excited about Goodwood. But I mean, I don't know if we've gone down this path. Allow me to soapbox here for a moment, but like cars are just not all cars, but the average car costs a lot more money now. And then if you're talking about things that are featured at Goodwood, I'm just kind of like, so it has 1,500 horsepower and it does 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds, and it costs like, I don't know, 4.5 million pounds. And what? So what? I don't know how that relates to me in any way, shape, or form. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's almost like, oh, here is an island in the Caribbean that you could buy. Okay, cool. Like that's also never gonna like cross my path in my life. So what's the point, sort of thing. Whereas, I mean, I definitely agree with you. Like I get much more excited about like that thing, and I've been thinking about this. Like I've actually been looking at them today. Like that thing on Autocar where Matt, what's his name, the follically challenged chap, like had some like 25-year-old 3 Series coupe. And was like, okay, like I'm gonna change the bushes. I'm gonna put an Alcantara steering wheel on it, which we should talk about because I think we have thoughts on that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna fix it up a little bit, and then guess what? It's quite a nice car because it's quite a good size and shape. It's got a nice straight six in it, a whole bit. And I was looking at E46 coupes and convertibles and wagons today, and I was like, yeah. I mean, for not very much money, it feels like that's something that you would actually probably quite enjoy to punt around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I remember you sending this article just a couple days ago. And I think every single car on this list is fantastic. Yeah, we had started talking about BMW M135 and 140. Hatchback, two-door especially.
Yeah.
And who was it? It was Top Dead Center had a project car with one. And what a freaking cool car. I wish we got it in the US. That would be something I would highly, highly consider. But there's so many good cars on this list. I'm just flipping through it now. But you mentioned E46 wagon. Of course, whenever BMW and wagon go together, my ears perk up. To be honest, like a little bit of whenever you say any German brand and wagon, my ears perk up. But is there... Here's the proposition I put to you, sir. Is there a better all-around car than a BMW station wagon?
I mean, the only one I can think of, and this is a cheat, would be an Alpina wagon.
Okay, fair enough. Although now
which is still a BMW wagon.
Yeah, and now Alpina's owned by BMW, which I don't know if we ever talked about this, but this worries me. I don't know about BMW's ability to manage brands. I think they're just gonna like pimp it out, but
it'll be a trim line, right? Like AMG is now for Mercedes. It's just like you get these cooking, like, I don't know, 2-liter diesels that because they have AMG floor mats, then somehow now it's like it's a thing.
Yeah,
and it's a bit of a shame, really.
And they've revealed their first new models of Alpines under their stewardship, or excuse me, Alpinas under their stewardship, and they're both SUVs. I think it's like the X7, maybe. And I was like, okay.
That's what the world needs, isn't it? But I mean, I guess ultimately that's where they make money.
Yeah,
it's humanity's fault, really.
Yeah, it is. That's truly. I mean, if car manufacturers listened to the enthusiasts, they would make like the best fantastic cars and sell 2 of them a year. So like,
yeah, exactly.
So we are the business geniuses here that can save every car manufacturer when you want to sell 2 cars a year. Let's acknowledge that fact. But
yes,
but
that's
BMW
fair.
wagons, I mean, so I've had 2 now, and
Yes.
they were good all rounders. I do think the E39 chassis as a whole is, do I say overhyped? I think it's overhyped. Come on the V8s, you got recirculating ball steering. The 2 that I had were both V8s. The V6 are supposed to steer better, but like, they're good cars. There's definitely better, even BMW wagons out there than the E39 chassis.
Yeah.
But you had, what did you have? An E60?
I'm actually just looking up the model numbers here because I'm not so, mine was a 2010, 2011 530D.
Oh, so I think that is E60. Yeah. So that chassis M5 was the V10 natural aspirated.
No, so it was the shape after that.
Oh, after that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking it up now. So the OG, the 1972 was the E12, and then that kind of morphed into the E28 from 1981.
Oh yeah.
And then 88 was the E34.
Yes.
That's a handsome car still.
Very good.
Then the E39 was 95. Yeah. So that's what you had.
Yeah, through 2003, I think.
Exactly. To 03 to E60, and that was the one with the V10 M5. Yeah, and then this was like F10, F11.
Oh, okay.
2010. That's what I had.
Okay.
And then there was like the G30, and now we're in the G60, which is like the same shape as like the i5 now.
Okay, so you had the F11. I think the numbers that end with the single digits are usually the wagon chassis.
Correct.
So that was a car, you had massive wheels on it, right?
Yeah, I think they were like 20s or 21s or something, and they in my mind it looked really cool, and because it still had like the BMW badge in the middle of the thing, I was like, oh, they're stock, aren't they? They're just like, and I cracked one, and then because they were run flat tires as well, like the tire was really expensive, the wheel was like £1,000, and there were various other funny little things with it, like weirdly the headlights on it were terrible. So it's kind of like pre-LED headlights. I guess the Xenons would have been an option. It didn't have them, and they were just like candles. They were terrible. I do remember though, like that 530D engine, like it was quick, and it was like and it was pretty frugal. Like it was like a lot of it I really enjoyed, but I mean I didn't have it all that long. Maybe like 6 months or something.
That was it? That short?
Yeah.
I thought I flipped cars quickly.
Yeah. Well, I think because it was one of those where it's like I took a long road trip with Felix and he was still quite small. We went down to like Cornwall, and that's when it like, it broke its wheel and it broke its tire, and it was really expensive to fix. And I was just like, I had a bit of an emotional like kind of thing, and was very upset with it. And then like put it on Auto Trader straight away, and like,
and you're just like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. And then at that point, that was when we had like the 2-cylinder Fiat 500 was our only family car for like 3 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But the kids were smaller, so you were able to put them in the back, or you strapped one of them to the roof, I'm assuming.
The boot. And I mean, the irony with all of this is I'm back in a Fiat 500 at the moment.
Yeah.
Because the Range Rover has launched itself.
The one thing about BMW wagons I should mention, so we we were in Rancho Mirage, California, in January. Yeah, and this car, I didn't really pay much attention to where it was, but I had seen a M3 converted E46 wagon online. It might have been on Bring a Trailer, and I don't know if it's sold, but I just happened to be driving past the Lamborghini dealership in Rancho Mirage, and there in their parking lot was that very car. And the M3 E46 turned into a wagon looked pretty dang good. And I've seen a few conversions since then, but they go for really good money because it is very unique. I think people are kind of going, oh, that's the best of both worlds. I would not mind having one of those at all. I think that'd be really nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking again at these E46s because there's something about like proportion, detailing, like, you know, like the sort of analog, but like also like what Matt Pryor was saying. It's like, you know, it's like, okay, it's not a brand new car, but actually it kind of has all the mod cons that you want.
Yeah.
And then in this world now where like cars get sold where the windscreen wipers are in the touch screen, it's like, no, actually I don't want that. I want all the buttons. Give me all the buttons, give me the dials. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm happy to just run Google Maps off my phone in the corner. That's cool. Like, I don't need all of that stuff. Yeah. So I could definitely, I was actually looking at, I think it was like an so there's an E46 wagon that I've seen that's dark blue over tan. Ooh. And then an E91 that was like black over tan, 320D. Also, I love the way that the rear windscreen opens separately.
Yes, that's always been a nice feature on the BMW.
Yeah.
So you're doing a bit of car shopping. So I think so it's been a while since we chatted. Why are you car shopping? What has led to this?
Why am I car shopping? Because the last car I bought was a Range Rover. And
no.
Yeah, I mean, having gone back and forth to the garage, I mean, it's probably been there at least once a month since I've owned it. And its latest thing was that it was starting to drink a lot of oil to the tune of like, I mean, I think I got through 5 liters in 2 weeks at some point. And I was like, ooh, seems like something's probably wrong. And I took it in there and they're like, yep, the turbos have gone. So that's a £6,000 fix.
Oh, gosh.
The extended warranty that it had when I bought it just ran out a month ago. So, yeah. And I mean, I had an offer for it of like $8,000. And that's assuming it's working. And I'm like, okay, so I've got to pay $6,000 for it to be worth $8,000. Well, like, what's it worth in scrap at this point?
Yeah, what is it worth in scrap? Do you know?
Well, actually, that's a good question. That was rhetorical, but yeah, I should probably find that out.
Is it more than 2? Because at that point, you're like, forget the turbos, man. Although, here's a question. Do you think, so it's worth $8,000 working, and it's $6,000 in repairs. How much was the extended warranty?
Well, it would have been like $2,000.
Okay.
But as the dude in the garage sort of talked me out of getting it because he's like, but they don't cover everything, you know. And depending on what has gone wrong, like they will cover some parts, but then you're still out of pocket for other parts. And he's like, you're probably better off to take that $2,000 and just like put that in your savings and expect then to sort of draw down on that at some point in the future. And I was like, yeah, okay. Turns out that was not actually the best advice.
Yeah, because you drew down on that pretty fast.
Because it needed it straight away. Yeah. But it was interesting because for a while, actually on a couple of visits, when they hadn't been able to fix it straight away, they'd given me their shop car, which was another L322 TDV8, more miles than mine, and maybe a couple of years older than mine. And weirdly, someone at some point had taken the Range Rover badge off the tailgate.
Okay.
I don't know why you'd do that. Anyway, weird. But like, I drove it and I was like, this thing steers better than mine. This thing feels faster than mine. Like, this thing rides better than mine. Like, what's going on here? And I guess that's just like, probably you drive two identical cars that are 15 years old back to back, and they always drive differently.
Yeah, I guess so. So here's a question. So it's worth 8 running. Say you put the 6 into it running. At this point, are you like, I'm just done with it? Or do you think that you get the turbos repaired and you might be willing to give it one more go before being done?
I mean, that had been what I was thinking.
Okay.
Like, because there's some part of me where I had thought it was a good one. And I thought, oh, this is maybe a sort of future classic. Maybe it is worth holding on to, et cetera, et cetera. And I think probably if it was a weekend car rather than a daily,
Yeah.
I'd be kind of more willing to kind of keep it up. But I think at this point, since I've started using it as like we live out in the country, like can't get anywhere without a car, like need something that's reliable to be able to get get the kid to the station and do all that kind of stuff. And I guess I just kind of like I've lost trust in it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I don't want it to go bang somewhere where it would be so inconvenient. So I think I'm kind of over that hump with it. And I'm sad because I had wanted one and I was enjoying it. And at the same time, like all of the stress of not knowing whether this is sort of whether you're gonna complete your journey or not, like really takes a lot of the shine out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, I think, there's certain cars where you're like, all right, you've let me down one too many times or two too many times. And I'm tired of dealing with it. Even if it's not your daily, like you drive it and you're like, well, I'm stuck regardless. I took it today and I took it somewhere and now I'm stuck. And it's a massive inconvenience. By the third or fourth time you have to tow a car, you're just like, okay, this is starting to be a lot.
Yeah. And I think, it's funny because it's like reliability seems like such a sort of boring reason to choose a vehicle, right? Like I think particularly when you're into cars, like certainly when I was younger, I was just like, oh, people who just buy Toyotas and Hondas because they're reliable, like how dull kind of thing. Like I would rather have something that's interesting. And you go, sure. If I don't know, like if you live in central London and there's multiple ways that you can get to work and like your car is just kind of a toy, but like if you actually need it, like, it's sort of not funny.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we're at a little bit. But it was something that I was thinking about of like in the Venn diagram of interesting and reliable, like what actually is both, do you think?
Ooh. I mean, so I think your point about like Toyotas and Hondas is a really good one. And that's where I do think interesting cars from more reliable brands have always appealed to me. So like NSX, both old and new. I mean, new one to a lesser extent, but nonetheless, like the fact that it's a Honda still, Supras, RX-7s, things like that. Not that RX-7 is the pinnacle of reliability, because it's not. There's a lot.
Vankel.
Yeah, exactly. You blame the Germans for that one, though. It's a Japanese car, but it's still the Germans' fault somehow. Yeah, I mean, I think reliable and interesting is a harder one, because I do think there's, to some extent, they're mutually exclusive. It's like, well, how, like, can you make it uber interesting and still reliable? I don't think companies with a reputation for reliability are necessarily interested in really pushing those boundaries. You'll have cars like, sure, you'll have a Lexus LFA. Like, that's like, okay, uber exotic. They lost money in every single one, but it's a Toyota ultimately. So you might go, well, maybe it's a little bit more reliable than, say, an equivalent or similar Ferrari. I'm trying to think of, I think the Lexus ISF was trying to hit that point. Ultimately, for me, I don't think it was interesting enough.
Yeah. I mean, Honda Civic Type R.
Yeah, Civic Type R is definitely hits that for sure.
I mean, GR Yaris, like 7-year warranty. I mean, even the Miata, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think the Miata is great.
Because that was even like the sort of selling point of like the OG one, like back in whenever that was, like 89 or 90 when they first launched, is that like it's like a traditional British kind of 2-seater sports car, but it works. Right? That was kind of the whole pitch. And it's like, well, and who'd have thunk them? They've gone on to sell millions of them.
Imagine that. Yeah, no, that's I think that's where I've traditionally gone, is like, what are the most interesting cars from Japanese manufacturers? And I feel like right now, yes, Toyota is doing a lot of cool stuff, right? Well, the Supra just went away, but they still got the 86. They've got the GR Corolla and GR Yaris. They've got the new GR like Uber sports car. Was it GR GT? I think the name is. And then allegedly they're going to have the MR2 and or the Celica coming back, or Celica, depending where you are.
Ooh.
So like Toyota's doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
But then you look at Honda, you're like, okay, there's no S2000, there's no NSX. They have the Type R.
And they just canceled the interesting like EVs that they were going to do with Sony.
Yeah, that's the Afila.
Like the
Yes.
kind of wedgie thing that was really cool. I was like, yeah, I was into that.
Yeah, so
And now
it
they're not
seems
going to
like
do it.
most people were like, ugh, another EV. I have to admit, I didn't really, they advertised it pretty heavily here, but I never like really ventured into either seeing one in person or researching it more.
But it's funny with Honda, right? Because if you go back 15 years, like their original Insight, and then they did like the hydrogen one, I forget what it was. Like they were really at the forefront of like that kind of like new wave of like, EV and kind of technology and stuff. And now it's like, where are they in terms of all
Yeah.
that? Like, they've really fallen
Yeah.
off.
They're pretty conservative. And I mean,
Mm,
it's a weird time in the auto industry because there's so many things happening at once. There's like, well, what powertrains will we offer people? I need to plan 5, 6, 7, 8 years out. You've
yeah.
got not only the Chinese market kind of collapsing if you're not a Chinese manufacturer, but then Chinese manufacturers really putting pressure on people everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, so many Chinese brands over here in the UK now. And it's like something came past me the other day, and I was like, I've never seen one of those before. Like, don't recognize the badge, anything. Like, Motors and JQs and stuff like that are all over the place now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of wild, actually. The fact that then you don't really see Ford Focuses anymore. Like, it's a strange thing.
Yeah.
Um,
They're the absolutely upending the industry. And then I think the other part that's confusing is you have regulations changing all the time. It's like, well, okay,
mm,
we have to be zero emissions by this time. It's like, well, no, we're going to move that out. And then the
yeah,
last thing is tariffs. So
yeah,
tariffs left and right. The U.S. is tariffing the heck out of everything, and it's unclear whether they're legal, whether they're valid. So it's like
yeah.
it's a mess.
Is there a thing as well in the US where, like, if a certain percentage of the car's parts are made in the US or assembled in the US or something like that, then it qualifies, but it has to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's so you do have my understanding is you do have some Chinese manufacturers looking at building in the US. Maybe assembling, maybe not
Mm,
necessarily building, but they're looking for ways to get around that. And I think you've seen I mean, obviously, as you mentioned in the UK, but I think around the world, you're seeing Chinese vehicles, EVs in particular, it seems like really coming in and breaking down price barriers, and
yeah.
people are buying them. And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
well, hey, the other folks, their average price has gone up so high
Yeah.
based on a million different things. The Chinese are coming in and it's way cheaper. We'll put aside the reasons behind why they're cheaper. It could be they're subsidized by their government, they're flooding with cheap goods, etc. And so I think what you have left in the US is like kind of the last major market going, nope, they're not allowed. It's 100% tariff if you bring one in. And I don't know, that might chip away, that the market here might change drastically. And so if you're a
Mm,
traditional automaker and you're used to your bigger margins and charging higher prices, you might be going, I don't know if we're going to be around much longer.
yeah. Yeah. Or maybe some of these brands wind up just being a badge on the front of a Chinese EV like MG is now.
Yeah.
Like,
Volvo, Lotus.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. All of them. Although, I mean, it does seem like I don't. Maybe Lotus is a bad example, but Volvo, like, it does seem like they get quite a lot of leeway. Like this still
That's true.
feels like they're quite sort of. There's quite a lot of Swedish in those vehicles. Whereas, I mean, again, like the those Lotus EV things, and there's like hybrid versions of them now as well. It's like it's so sort of diametrically opposed from like that sort of platonic ideal of what a Lotus should be. You think like Series One Elise or something that weighs like what 700 kilos,
Yeah.
and to that where like that's not even the batteries alone probably weigh 700 kilos. And you
Yeah.
just think, what, like, who is buying these? What, like, you had an Elise in the garage and now you decided that you wanted to have a 3-ton SUV? Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
just
I think
strange to me.
I think Geely played it has played it really smart with Volvo, which is look, we bought this not just for the company, but for the brand. So why dilute the
Yeah,
brand? Like why dilute your investment?
totally.
This week on Smith and Sniff, Johnny and Rich were talking about Lotus, and they were like,
Yeah.
why are you putting a Lotus badge on a 2-ton, 2.5-ton.
Yeah.
Like what is the connection? And so Johnny's interesting idea was what they should do is they should go and acquire TVR, and they can go make bigger sporty cars still, but not SUVs and not sedans. That's not what people want from a Lotus, and that's not where people go to. That's not the brand they go to when they do want those cars. So I don't know. It seems like sales of the Electre and my gosh, what's the other one? I don't even pay attention to them anymore.
Yeah, I don't actually even know the name of them. I mean, you see them around occasionally, and there's a dealer like down the road from me, but they're wildly expensive and they're not very nice. And you just go, yeah. Who's buying this?
Yeah, that's not no.
Hmm.
So in a very long way to come back to your car. So you're looking at you talked about a bunch of different cars in the past few weeks, all of which sounded really interesting, but is right now E46 at the kind of the top of your list?
Well, we'll
might
see.
Change next week.
Yeah, it might change next week. I mean, as of this afternoon, I went. So there's like an independent dealer that I went and looked at actually 2 Range Rovers last summer, called Heel and Toe, and they're out in like the deepest Suffolk somewhere, but like a couple of young guys, and they have quite interesting taste in cars.
Okay.
And I go on their website every now and again just because they have quite interesting taste in cars, and it's nice to have a look. And to our previous conversation, they have a E91 320D estate on there at the moment for like under £7,000, which is kind of tempting. More tempting, and it's like, don't yuck my yum here, but
you're anticipating that I'm going
yeah. But the E85 Z4, and admittedly, it's the wrong engine. It's only a 2-liter.
Okay.
Got it's been to the moon and back is mileage, and it's a manual. And I'm probably like, having driven a stick as a daily for the last 2 weeks, I'm like, actually, I would have preferred an auto, but I'm kind of into that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it right now. So it's the E85. So the E85, that's like solidly Bengal era.
Yes, exactly.
I won't say that I
kind of aged quite well, I would say.
I think so. There's 1 or 2 lines on that car that I don't like, but overall I like it. And I think the Z3, which I liked, and then of course the Z3M I liked. But I feel like the Z4 was a very nice maturation and evolution of that car. Yeah. So $4,000. They have it for $4,000.
Yeah.
What? That is insane.
And I mean, what is a similar era Boxster in decent condition worth?
Man, I'm sure it's much, much, much more.
Yeah. And I think, like, to me, that's quite classy. Like, it's not too kind of like, that's a solid sort of middle-aged man.
Yeah.
Summertime, the bald spot getting a bit sunburnt kind of vibe.
Well, they also have is Maserati 3200 GT. It's quite a bit more. It's 12.5, but it has the boomerang taillights.
No, those taillights. But what did we say about interesting and reliable?
Yeah, Maserati does not fit in that part of the Venn diagram, does it? It's certainly interesting, but probably not reliable.
I'll tell you, and I was kind of half joking, half not joking about like the segment of vehicle that I think does, most of them fit fairly squarely in that interesting and reliable space. Arcade cars.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like, you get some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, like, I don't know, like a 4-door Jimny, or the Jimny with the big chrome kind of Jeep style kind of grill on them. Like, some of those are pretty fun.
Oh, I think a Jimny would be fantastic, but they're pretty expensive, right?
Yeah. And I also wonder with some things like that, because part of my problem with those kind of cars is my physical stature.
Have you sat in a Jimny, a current Jimny? No. Okay. We've got to get you in one, man. I mean,
even like MX-5s. I'm like, maybe the different generations have been bigger and smaller, and I can't remember which one it was that I sat in. But like, some of them, I'm kind of like, when the windscreen is like in your eye line kind of thing, and the seat won't go any lower, and you're kind of like,
Yeah, that's a pretty common discussion for the current gen Miatas of how do I lower the seat? How do I get more headroom? Especially with people
Mm,
who are doing track days because they want to get under the roll bar.
yeah, you need to get your helmet in there. So you
Yes.
need to make your helmet fit.
Yes, you don't want to that to be the structure that's holding up the car if you roll.
No,
That
no,
would be
no.
bad.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, I
you're
was
right. These
enjoying
guys,
saying the word helmet there.
yeah, these guys do have a lot of interesting cars. I see this Cayenne here, which is
Mm,
interesting as well, and they have all sorts of price ranges. But for $4,000, that Z4 does look pretty good,
yeah,
and
that's
so
what.
does their M Sport Estate. That looks
Yeah,
very reasonably priced too for the mileage, 68,000.
yeah,
That's not bad at all.
yeah.
Well,
I
okay.
mean, if you had a Labrador whose hips were starting to get a bit arthritic and is not going to be able to jump up into a Range Rover anyway, something like that, with the light colored interior that's not going to show the white dog hair.
Yeah, that could work pretty well. Okay. Okay. Ew, yeah. Well, there's some options there. So
There's,
I'm trying to think of
there's
the
some
ones you
thought.
were thinking about a couple weeks ago that were top of your list.
I did go and look at a Ford Fiesta ST.
That's right. And you said it was in
Mm,
pretty poor shape for the year and the mileage.
it was one of those yeah, exactly. It was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old, and like not that many miles on it. I want to say like maybe 40,000 or something, like at a main Ford dealer. And I walked around it, and when every single tire is a different brand, and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that. They like it was boxed, like it literally had like inches on each side of it because it was sort of quite a compact kind of dealer lot. And so there was no way I could have been able to drive it and had they not moved like five other cars. But they'd like opened it and I went and sat in it. And like, they've got the kind of like sporty Recaro seats and it's quite a good driving position and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I was like it stinks of sweat. Like stale BO in this car. And I'm like, well, that's nasty. Like, I don't want that. Thank you very much. And then I'm ashamed to say that I did a little fart and then I got out of it and just sort of waved to the dude. And I was like, yeah, I'm not interested. Thank you very much.
So you added to the smell and just
Yeah.
carried on.
Well, I figured at that point, like, I mean, it already smelled. So,
So you may
the
have improved
incremental
it.
impact of my action was, I felt justified.
Do they expect to sell a car that smells like a locker room?
Well, exactly. But also, I was kind of like, is this sort of not what you do when you're a dealer, right? Is you get something that comes in, you go, okay, let me, I don't know, for example, check if it needs tires. Do I not, I don't know, give it a valet so it doesn't stink?
Yeah.
Like, what else are you doing? You're just flopping it on the lot there and expecting someone to part with like 20 grand for some car that's honks.
Yeah,
Like, no,
you got to put some work into it, man. At least have the tires match, at least front and rear. 4 different tires is just shows that you just don't give a crap.
100%. Well, it's like, but to me, and again, like, because I'm not sort of mechanical, I'm not an expert, I'm not sort of technical, it does become that like classic, was it like AC/DC or like Van Halen or something like like the brown M&Ms? And do you know this story?
You've totally lost me with this one.
Okay.
Oh, yes. No, wait. I take it back. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
It's like the
So
sort of indicator species, right?
yes,
So
they're
like on their rider
contract.
backstage, they would always ask for the big bowl of M&Ms, but with all the
Yes.
brown ones taken out.
Yes.
And it wasn't because they hated the brown ones. It was because they knew that straight away they could look at that bowl. If there was any brown M&Ms in there, then they would know that the whole kind of shebang was sloppy and they weren't reading stuff and that they should
hadn't
expect
read it in detail.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
So maybe going forward when you go and you have an appointment to view a car, you can also come up with a rider and say, step 1, make sure the car doesn't stink of sweat or poo. Step 2, no more than 2 brand and models of tires on the vehicle at once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Has anyone farted in this recently? Yes, no. I'll tell you one thing.
I'm not sure, sir. Let me go check and see if it's smells.
You'll come back 2 minutes later. It's like, yes, they have actually.
I just did as well.
I mean, the other sort of classic one is like, is it hot? Is it running even when you show up to see it? because like I went and saw like a classic Range Rover, actually with the same dudes like heel and toe, like last summer, and it was like a 94, like one of the last kind of classics, because at some point I thought, oh, maybe I want that as like a sort of weekend whatever, and it was running when I got there, and I was kind of like,
oh, that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
To leave the car running, it's like I mean, it's bad if they drove it around and warmed it up, but to actually leave it running, that's. I mean, I'd be tempted to immediately turn it off.
And see if it turns back on again or not. Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's not a good start.
Yeah, but I can't fancy that Z4. I don't know.
It's nice. It's nice, but it's also, is it practical enough? Because again, your roads are terrible, and that thing will get absolutely destroyed.
It'll get munched, won't it? But then it's only 4K, so you probably don't care so much if it gets munched.
True. I think here's what you should do. Are you familiar with bed liner that you spray in the back of pickup trucks?
Yeah.
So I think you paint the whole thing with bed liner when you get it. Like you said, it's only 4K.
Okay.
It'll weigh like 200 pounds more because the bed liner is so thick, but it won't be scratchable. You could throw rocks at it and it would be just fine.
Yeah. Or, I like this idea. This is also making me think of, we were talking about like what would be cool to do an Overland version of.
Oh.
We were talking about an Overland Honda Fit. What about an Overland BMW Z4? Steelies, knobby tires, like extra spotlights, maybe some form of like roof rack over the convertible roof. I don't know.
There's no reason this wouldn't work. People build off-road Miatas, so absolutely a Z4 could drive the Moab Trail. No problem.
Yeah, why not? You're just not trying hard enough.
I did like your idea of the economical Porsche Dakar built out of a 996.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
I mean, I love those sort of Safari 911s.
Yeah.
But again, it's like, you think, I mean, I guess they sell them new now for what, 200 grand for that kind of, do they even call them a Safari edition, something like that?
The Dakar.
The Dakar, of course. But like, who's paying 200 grand for a car like that is ever going to take it anywhere where it might get even muddy, right? Whereas like if you get one for 10 or 15, you go like, sure, I'll chop this up and around. Why not?
It would be great around the roads that you have where you're half off-roading every day anyway.
Yeah. I want to get some of those like Baja spec sort of Fox shocks where you have like a foot of travel.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fantastic.
Through the handling. Yeah. I just want like a lift kit on a
for a budget, I would advise you go to like Alibaba Express or something and pick the parts up there. And then you can call it the Porsche Temu. It's like Temu edition.
Like that.
Dakar Temu. Just put together two different words.
But you almost like, I'm now imagining something that's almost sort of monster truck adjacent. Like if you imagine like some sort of low sporty car and then you have like the massive wheels and tires and it's hugely lifted.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like that.
One of my favorite YouTubers is this guy, Superfast Matt, and he has a off-road Viper. It's first gen, if I remember correctly. It is first gen, but it is really cool. He's got a lot of really cool cars, but his off-road Viper is really interesting. And those are cars that keep dropping in value. So it's like, why not off-road it?
I had the poster of the first Viper when they came out. And I think they were only in red, the original ones, right?
I think that might be right for the first gen.
Yeah. I love those. And I remember seeing some, do you know the movie director Spike Jonze?
Yes.
Who's done like Being John Malkovich and stuff. There was some, like when he was still doing music videos, like there was some sort of behind the scenes thing of him and he was kind of just getting successful and he had a Viper. And like there's this bit of him like putting his hand like across the kind of back tire, and the back tire is like, it's like a full like 12 or 15 inches wide or something like that. And he had it on his arm. He's like, look how wide the tire is. And like, and then doing like 70 down Melrose in LA kind of thing in this like Viper. And I was like, oh, those are so cool. I love those.
Yeah. They are really cool cars. And it's funny because like almost every gen just continues to depreciate. Like they haven't started to go up, but yeah, it's interesting. I don't know why, but it seems like when like every Corvette out there is highly, highly valued by at least their owners, like Vipers are just kind of meh, but I think they're neat cars.
Yeah.
Speaking of red. Oh, go ahead.
No, No, you go. You go.
Well, I was going to mention this came out a little bit ago, but have you seen the Alfa Romeo Giulia Luna Rossa?
It rings a bell. Luna Rossa is like the sailing team,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
type with their sailing team. And I think they're only making 5 or 10 of them. And all I can say is thank goodness, because this thing is hideous. It looks like it
Hang
was
on.
styled by a pair of middle schoolers who went into Pep Boys or Halfords and just went all out with the spray paint and the tack on wings. It's terrible.
It's not great.
You're being too kind.
And I'm slightly confused because I understood that Luna Rossa was like part of Prada. And
Oh, interesting.
like the fashion house. And Prada sort of being known for like restraint and kind of clean lines and like quite a sort of pared back aesthetic.
Yeah, someone
That's
at
kind
Alpha
of
didn't get the memo.
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite. And like
Yeah.
this nasty sort of split wing on the back.
I think that's
Like
the
there's
worst
sort of
part of it.
2 separate spoilers.
It's terrible. And then the wheels, do you see how the wheels have a red center and then it fades to
Yeah.
black?
Oh, and the black bit on the bonnet as well. Oh man.
Yeah, it really does look like one of the designers let his kid do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like putting googly eyes on like the Mona Lisa or something, isn't it? Like it just doesn't need it.
Yeah. I mean, I know Alpha, they're trying to do anything to drum up interest. They have an aging product line. I still love the Julia. I love that they still make it, but this is so not it.
No.
I'm not sure who told them this was good, but it's not. It's terrible.
Nobody needs that.
Yeah, it's awful. It's just not good. They should stop. I have a very random out of the blue question. So as you've been doing more car shopping, kind of thinking about different cars to replace your Range Rover, are you a VW guy?
Ooh, not really.
Me either.
Like, I know that some people are like, that is so much their thing, right? Like, surfers in their vans, and like, people. Some people just love golfs and all that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've had a golf. Like, it was. I mean, I kind of like. Well, it was fine until it broke on me twice, and then I was kind of over that as well. But like, I don't know that like they're okay.
I've never. It's not that I haven't gotten it, because I feel like there are certain VWs I look at. So I wish I remembered the name of the platform or the chassis, but there's a certain gen of Jetta that was boxy, and I think it was the Bora in the UK.
Yes, sort of like early noughties.
Yeah, I think that's right. That
like
looked really good. Yes.
Yeah, they were sharp. They were nice. Yeah.
Someone in my neighborhood has one, and they park it on the street, and I always admire it when I go by. But the VW thing was just never was something I got into. Like, it always seemed like it was still a step or a half down from BMW, but the parts and the maintenance were nearly as expensive. And so they didn't have a lot of rear wheel drive, like I guess traditional drivers oriented platforms.
No. I mean, it was always a bit more of a sort of like value brand, but then somehow a bit more kind of like aspirational. Like somehow like a Golf was always a cut above like a Ford Focus.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a thing in the UK where I would say that like for quite a while, if you had like a black Golf, that was kind of just like a sign of like, oh, I'm not really into cars, but I don't want to show off, but like I'm kind of, I don't know, like it was kind of a bit of a non-car in a way.
Well, and a couple decades ago, it seemed like, so I think when new GTI came out, I think it was the first time they brought back the tartan seats. And it seemed like a hipster thing. It was like, I got a new GTI, got the hipster seats or the tartan seats, and it was like, okay, it's kind of trendy. I don't think that Golf fandom ever really like went away, but it seemed at that moment in particular it was kind of a trendy thing, and I just never got on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, like I kind of I think again, even with the GTI, like it's one of those things where you go, yeah, in theory that could be the sort of the only car that anyone would ever need, in a way a bit like a sort of, 3 Series touring kind of thing. But like, yeah, it's never like, it would never necessarily be like top of my list. There's probably always other stuff that I would be like more, I don't know, there's just more for me somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
golfs are almost universally praised. I guess like last couple gens, people hated the haptic feedback touchscreen lack of switches stuff, but almost universally praised. Excellent all rounder, but never did anything for me. I mean, there's other cars that are much more interesting. So
that was even like, I mean, there was a moment where I had that Golf R and you had your CTR, right? And like in theory, those are like competitors, and yet like I feel like that Golf for me was just like, it was kind of like boringly competent. Like it would sit on the freeway and be relatively quiet. Like, you go around twisty roads and it would grip well and it was quite quick and all the rest of it. But it was like, it never felt exciting particularly, and it was quite sort of understated. Whereas like that, your Civic, that seemed exciting when you weren't even in it. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of walk past it in the car park and be like, oh wow, like there's a thing there.
Yes. And yeah, the styling was definitely, I think for most people, and myself included, like a little over the top. Some people thought it was way over the top, but it was kind of the opposite of the Golf. The Golf was more understated and subdued, whereas the Civic was like screaming, "Look at me!"
Yeah, completely. And actually, this is like another thought that I'd had since we last chatted about. Are you familiar with the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
I have it sitting on my nightstand, and I'm on page 2.
Oh, no way. That's so funny. Persevere with it, because the first time I read it, I couldn't stand it, but I probably read it like 4 times or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, there's a whole bunch of philosophy in it, the bits that talk about the classic mode and the romantic mode.
Okay.
And I'm going to get onto cars in a minute, but this is like pertinent to, but essentially the idea is that like the romantic mode is like all sort of concerned with like almost like this kind of surface level and like the aesthetics and, basically sort of what things look like kind of, sort of immediately there.
Okay.
And then the classical is more about like the sort of underlying structure and kind of, I guess, maybe the thought or sort of like the engineering that goes into it, if you will. So if you think about sort of in cars, like, your romantic response might be to say like, I don't know, like for me, for example, an Aston Martin Vantage V8 is like one of the most beautiful vehicles ever made. But then the classic part of you goes, yeah, but I know they're unreliable and actually they're not that fast and they don't ride that well. And, like that kind of thing. And that sort of balance, the tension between the two of those, I suppose. And how was I relating that? I don't know.
Well, I think you did. Like it comes back to cars. So one, I'll have to read it. I'll have to get past page 2 at some point. And I think that's absolutely right. Like, and you couldn't have picked a better example. Like the V8 Vantage is a car that I will always put probably in my top 5 of most beautiful, classically beautiful even cars. But I think I might have mentioned a number of months ago, I joined a bunch of V8 Vantage owners group clubs on Facebook. And so I'd see them in my feed and oh my gosh, the things these folks have to deal with. I just recently left all those groups and said, nope, I'm convinced that I don't have the patience, the time, or the money to deal with this ownership experience. So I'm moving on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a way, that's a bit like the L322 as well. Like for me, I think that's such like a classic design. And like I saw one on the road today. There was an Aintree green one following me when I was in my Fiat 500. And I was like, I think it's such a it's such an iconic design. And from a romantic point of view, like I still love those cars. But then all of the underlying stuff, like the kind of classic mode for me, it's like I don't want one. Yeah. Right. And I think that's like, and almost like the opposite of something like a Tesla Model 3, where I go, I can appreciate the battery technology. I can appreciate the motor technology. I can actually appreciate that they've done a really smart job with a lot of the software. They and even the shape of it is honed for like the, you know, the drag factor, which like, you know, it influences the range, all of that kind of stuff. But just the surface of it, the thing that you would wash, like, is not interesting, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and again, it's like, for me, I think there is something about kind of like hunting for that kind of Venn diagram overlap of like,
Yeah.
where is all the stuff under the skin actually really well sorted, and it's reliable, and it's intelligent design, and it also, you get a bit of fizz from looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I was just gonna say, it absolutely comes back to the Venn diagram that you described at the beginning. It's hard. It's actually, that overlap is actually pretty small, I think. Especially if you're like, well, I want to lean more towards reliable. There's so many interesting cars out there that will absolutely bankrupt you. And then there's so many reliable cars that will bore you to sleep, which is a safety hazard. You don't buy them. So
true.
so it's not, it's tough. It's a really, really tough situation if you really want to have that overlap. And I can see why I think a lot of people we know, friends, have just kind of thrown their hands up and said, I'm so done with this. I'm just going to go get a Golf, or I'm just going to go get a Civic, or I'm just going to go get a minivan. And inevitably 6 to 12 months later, they're like, I'm so bored with this car. I've done it myself several times in the very recent past. So you kind of oscillate. I think it just comes down to like, how willing is your decision to try and find that overlap again stronger than your will to just let things be. And I think that's why you end up with a lot of people who are in and out of cars all the time, because they're trying to find that right balance.
Yeah.
And the balance can change too.
Yeah, totally. And that also maybe on some degree, like, that's why in some ways maybe it's smarter to have a small collection and not need one vehicle to do everything for you, and to go like, yeah, okay, I am going to have something that is boring and competent to just like get the kids to school during the week, and then I have the thing for the weekend that actually I'm going to enjoy, right? Because trying to find all of that in one package that works equally well for all of that stuff, it's such a tall order.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. So a couple of weeks ago, some friends hit me up and said, hey, there's a car meet, 40 minutes north. Do you want to go? And I said, sure. And I went downstairs and I said, oh, wait, which car do I want to take? So, I have the choice of two cars that are the exact same, two Giulias, and I got my Miata. And I was like, what should I take? And I thought about it for a second, and then Fenton Zygreen saved me, because he's like, hey, I'm going to take my NC1 NSX. Do you just want to ride with me? I was like, yeah, easy. But on the way there, I thought about it, and I was like, it's funny because maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I really wanted the perfect car for that occasion. It's like, oh, that's where you bring out your weekend car, right? Like, you take it out, and even weekend use, like, maybe you don't want to like go to the store with it because you might worry about door dings, but a car meet is the perfect use case for it. Yeah. And then I went, I don't have the perfect car for this anymore, and it happens so infrequently that I don't really care. And that use case doesn't overlap with anything else. So it's like, okay, perfect weekend car meet car, and it also is your track car. No, I have track car covered. Or it's also your daily driver. No, those two don't overlap. So I know we've talked about this in the past, but like, do you have a use case for the car? And I'm just like, I don't really have one for this, and I don't feel the need to get one because that's such a narrow use case.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And it seems to me like quite a lot of car culture does revolve around that use case alone, right? Like, I mean, I noticed doing that myself. Like, I'll go on Car and Classic, and I'm looking at things on like, actually, I'm not going to drive to the airport in that. I'm not going to like actually want to blitz around a country road in that. Like, but for like one day in June to park that up and for it to look cool, yeah, I want that. And yet, like, to own a car only for that seems kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I think with endless time money, sure, it'd be like, cool. Yeah. Or actually, you don't even need the time. You just need the money. But it feels like a waste at this stage.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a bit silly. Well, we should probably wrap this one up. I had some topics that I wanted to get to, but I think we'll save them for the next time. So that's a wrap on episode 12. And we often say it, and usually fail to fulfill it, but we will try and record more often. And one of these days we'll get a Hugo in the US recording in person for both of us.
Yeah, true. I'm going to be back and forth a little bit, so we'll make that work.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll do it soon. Nice. If you have any questions, feedback, fan mail, or kindly donations, perhaps, email us at info@npptg.com, and we will catch you on the next one.